I'm happy to welcome you in this roundtable. Today, we discuss the local energy efficiency programs. And today, we discuss the situation in Kyiv.
Хотілося б навести деякі факти.
First, I would like to start with some facts. Ukrainian cities are big consumers of energy, and in the territory of cities, Ukraine consumes 70% of its resources. Ukraine remains one of the biggest energy-intensive countries and occupies one of the leading positions in this respect in Europe and Asia. And growing prices for fuels and energy sources is very harmful for population, very sensitive issue. And the statistics proves that only 22% of the cities of Ukraine either have or are getting ready to develop the energy efficiency plans, and our civil platform OPORA jointly with other NGOs decided to raise awareness about among population about possible energy efficiency programs. Kyiv is among those pioneering cities who is ready to develop such plan and to implement it. Actually, here we're speaking about adaptation to the most state of the art, most modern energy efficiency methods. Today we have Roman Yasenets, and I would like to request from the speakers to speak slowly. Thank you, Alina.
Так, чути?
Good morning, dear colleagues. I will start from a short introduction on the state program of on raising energy efficiency of residential buildings, which had been being implemented for the last 2 years by the government. Our program provides for the compensation to people on bank loans, which are taken with the aims to raise energy efficiency of the residential houses. And here you see that several thousand households took these loans, amounting to more than several hundred millions of hryvnia. The leading region here is Lviv city and Lviv Oblast, because they have special energy efficiency program developed at the oblast level. And now I will briefly describe the agency's achievements in other regions of Ukraine. In May last year, we have signed a partnership agreement with Condominia and with the regional state administrations. Thus, in May, we signed 4 party memorandum partnership about making the loans for condominium cheaper in case they're aimed for energy efficiency. We started this work with oblast cities, and as of today, we have covered the entire Ukraine except Kyiv Oblast. But nevertheless, in Kyiv Oblast, we have a special energy efficiency program. That is, all the regions and all the oblasts stated that they are ready to develop energy efficiency programs and take these cheaper bank loans for these purposes. Here you see the first outcomes of this project. The most green are those oblasts where they have either city, regional, and oblast programs. We believe that our task now is to encourage all the oblasts to get involved into this process. In the beginning of this year, out of that 81 programs, some ran out in last year, and now we are launching new programs. And moreover, some 120 more programs now are in course of development. They're in the pipeline. This is the situation as of the last year with the cheaper energy efficiency loans. The light blue color shows target figures, target financing allocated for energy efficiency credits. Kyivska and Lvivska Oblast are leaders here. And here we see that the demand among households is growing. This is the split of those figures among the regions. Here again, Lvivska, Kyivska, Vinnytska, Kharkivska, and Rivnenska oblasts are the leaders. All other oblasts are lagging behind, either because they failed to pass necessary regulations, or since they remained passive. In a moment, I will show what's going on in terms of cities. So if you look at the cities, this is the situation with the cheaper loans and with compensation of the part of loans in cities. And here you see that the leaders are Lviv. So these are results as of 2015. We managed to get this, I think, positive results because of a public awareness campaign, broad public awareness campaign. In May, we held a very representative forum. Then the leader of our agency visited all the oblasts and all the regions where he promoted our energy efficiency programs where he encouraged local administrations to develop the energy efficiency program, providing for compensation of the interest rates in case of bank loans for energy efficiency. Also, later we developed our public awareness campaign, and in this map you can see in what districts we held our seminars, workshops. This slide shows that 30,000 people who attended our workshops. For example, this is Kharkiv. Separately, I would like to discuss compensation paid on the framework of local programs. Last year, 333,000 million hryvnia were allocated for this program, and out of that figure, this 70% are already paid as compensation to households. With this, I would like to stop. Thank you for your attention.
One question. Approximately in the regions, what is the number of funds was used by household by condominium in 2015 for energy efficiency programs? About local or governmental programs? No, I'm speaking about the funds of owners of apartments. I'm not ready with this information. I don't have this data. Thank you for your attention. Thank you, Roman. I would like to return back to Kyiv, and during 2015 there were many local programs, and they created some changes in the sphere, and I would like to speak now about the draft of the program for modernization, and this plan should be not of not a recommendation, but as a real plan, and this document should strengthen our energy independence, and maybe CO2 emissions should be reduced in Kyiv, and Kyiv should be an example in the sphere after introduction of this important document. And I would like to give the floor to the Deputy of City State Administration. So please, good afternoon. Of course, we are not exemplary at the moment, but we have some experience we want to share. More than a year ago, we analyzed the situation in Kyiv, our main problems, history of some processes, and we decided for ourselves to start with the development of some strategic documents. Because every strategy, as Napoleon said, if it is not written, so it doesn't exist. That's why we started to develop documents, and now we have them. It's the Sustainable Development Plan and the complex program on energy efficiency and development of communal services enterprises. And there's nothing innovative there, but we had to structure the program problems and the directions of our activity. And moreover, we conducted detailed study of experience of other countries and in what way they solved the problems. And we went to the Baltic states and 3 countries, and then we went to Scandinavia and to our neighbors, and we saw that there are many practices that are successful and we can use. And we introduced them in our 2 strategic documents, and we started work. What was done? The program is concerned with the calculation of these are 4,000 of 4,000 meters, and starting from 2007 we had meters, we found them, and they are ready for use. We reprogrammed them, and they were introduced in the buildings, in the residential buildings, and we starting at the beginning of last year, we were outsiders as to the meters installment, and then we became leaders, and everything is possible. And this year we will complete this plan, and now about 80% of buildings, it's about more than they have these meters. Now, what other things were studied? Thermal modernization of houses, because these are direct expenses of the state, and we provided funds, more than 60 million, to thermo-modernize of kindergartens and schools, and these works were carried out, and for us it was important to do this, and we also created a model in order that in 2016 to introduce real mechanisms, because now it doesn't work in Ukraine, and we believe that this year it's our main task, investment project, ESCO mechanism, based on ESCO mechanism. And we started this work already. What is also important is thermal modernization of buildings. The program of thermal modernization is now on the way, and we believe that after establishing meters, we should also speak about other things, and this is the experience of other developed countries. And last year we started several projects, and in Terynkivsky too, we placed weather control, and also now these buildings consume 30% less than last year. So this is a very important topic. And after regulation, also replacement of windows is an acute problem. And this will allow to reduce expenses, and we created several models, and Kyiv is the biggest producer of heating energy and the biggest consumer of gas for the enterprises that produce heat, and for us thermal modernization is important. And we have 2 variants. There should be a target state program, maybe to create the system, or ESCO mechanism.
Він не пропрацьовувався на державному
ESCO mechanism. we didn't speak about it on the level of government, but now we started to develop ESCO mechanism program, and there's no other variant because expenses would be huge. We should there should be some mixed financing with the funds of owners of flats, because they are the main beneficiaries of this and the only beneficiaries of this program. And that's why their funds should be attracted. And for this year, we plan to have 3 programs of co-financing and in this area. And the program, we support state program, but I asked about indicator of multiplication, how much funds we got. And despite we didn't, at the level of city, we realized the program of co-financing. We chose several buildings that and the city provided 70% of funds. And we had good results, and more than 3 million hryvnias were given by the owners of the flats. And it would be interesting to compare the results with the other regions. We understand that crediting is a good perspective. We envisaged funds for that in 2016, and we will have a parallel program. And we had, you know, that Kyiv has a good credit history, and we couldn't take this decision lightly. We had to have many coordinations. And then there are some housing residential area where there's no condominium, and for these houses we prepare some mechanisms for co-financing. And we should maybe provide some engineering facilities, and we should also attract people for these works, because we have some changes in legislation and in psychology of people. We should work together to provide people with options how to improve their housing conditions. And now we complete the development of our programs, and of course we will tell you about this later. And also, of course, we await results, because there are no such models in Ukraine, and they should be here. That's why these are our main directions. Calculation, regulation of heat in the housing sector, and also ESCO mechanism, and also options of tactics for co-financing programs. So a person should take decisions based on the specifics of the housing. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Petro Alexandrovich. OPORA was involved into many discussions about local energy efficiency programs, and we actively participate in public awareness projects in this area. We'll be happy to participate in energy efficiency programs in Kyiv, and via a condominium, condominium mechanism is very efficient to raise energy efficiency of the of your house, and I invite Tetyana Boiko to describe this for our organization, for OPORA. Comprehensive approach to energy efficiency and sustainable energy development are of primarily interest. I believe that the city of Kyiv is taking the most comprehensive approach. You heard this in Petro Alexandrovich report before me. I will point your attention to the condominium sector, and here we have some condominium which participated in local program, which did not participate in these programs. We have those who are pro this approach, some people who are contra this approach, etc. When speaking about residential sector, about housing sector, we speak in first term about condominium. While all the programs are aimed at condominium, I think because up to the last year, it was not so popular to recognize that the responsibility of in energy efficiency should be laid on residents. Because I think the answer is that because Ukrainians identify themselves as owners of their flats and apartments, but not like co-owners of their houses. And here we should clearly understand what is the role of the maintenance company, house maintenance company, and the owners of flats. Here I would like to refer to the latest data held by the Foundation for Targeted Ecological Investment with Friedrich Harkert support, foundation support. That is, the main output is that people realize that they are owners of their flats, but they do not recognize themselves as owners of the house or co-owners of the house, and they thus they cannot imagine how much they can save becoming co-owner. Some people and the bigger part, even bigger part of residents of multi-storied buildings do not think they should be responsible for the services in the house. And quite often people living in multi-storied buildings do not know how to get access to state programs. Just an example, in Rivne, two houses were comprehensively carried out thermal modernization, and residents in those two buildings, people did not want to be engaged into state program. They wanted to be part of the program of joint financing, for example. That is, we need to have a clear plan. First, we have to modernize the residential houses, then we have to modernize infrastructure and networks, and then we have to modernize the heating facilities. And in many countries first started to modernize generation and infrastructure, and very soon it appeared that after modernization of houses, all those modernized facilities appeared to be abundant and not necessary. This shows that we should modernize residential houses first. Now I'll try to answer the question why there is such a huge figure showing the need in raising energy efficiency. Because the majority of our houses were constructed in Soviet times. This picture shows that in some our houses consume twice or even 3 times more energy than this is needed in line with the modern standards. There are 2 houses from Lutsk which were modernized based on bank credit mechanism and based on the ESCA approach. I won't describe it in much detail, but these are good examples of standard Soviet buildings. They look like this, but now they consume 2 times less. This year, even almost 3 times less energy than neighboring houses where nothing was done. What are the elements which allow to carry out this energy efficiency measures and to reach considerable decrease in heating bills? In Lutsk, they have both state and local, separately have state and local energy efficiency program. Why we are speaking about condominium? Not so many people speak on this topic, but with the raise of tariffs, we should discuss one important issue. We should reform the relations between all the players. We should have an efficient consumer of services representing the house, and instead of Soviet JACs maintenance companies, Soviet-type maintenance companies, we should develop new type maintenance companies based on competitive approach. Thus, we should turn this market from monopoly-style market into competitive market. The law 411 was passed, but this was just one step, and the reform of this residential house ownership remained uninformed. There are three ways how co-owners can make decisions in their house. They can have a general meeting, they can establish the condominia, or without creating a condominia. Petro Alexandrovich mentioned that 85% of houses where there are no condominia, where there are so-called non-organized co-owners, they can make decision by simple majority. But what type of decisions they can make by simple majority? In theory, they can do this, but in practice, the only mechanism which allows to involve funding, additional funding, it's only condominia. What is different about condominium? Because condominium means the presence of legal entity which can take responsibility and take responsibility for money, and only condominium can collect and accumulate operational and reserve funds for servicing of the house, for maintenance of the house, of a house. That's why we have to we may have discussions whether maintenance, future maintenance companies will be able to involve funding for energy efficiency measures based either on a credit base or on ESCA mechanism or whatever. Thank you, Tetyana. We have a very short Skype connection with Yuri Lyutka, who is advisor to the city mayor in Kamyanets-Podilsky. Kamyanets-Podilsky is one of those 17 cities which joined the USAID Municipal Energy Reform Project. Good afternoon. I would like to agree with Tetyana Boiko and with Petro Alexandrovich. The approach, I agree with the approach that first we have to modernize heating in houses, then energy efficiency measures in houses, then networks, and then generation. The heating, the boiler points, the boiler stations near the houses have a potentially bigger capacity. And Petro Alexandrovich, as for residential houses, first we have to think about heating stations, and then we
Що стосується додержання ефективності, в мене було б одне.
About energy efficiency programs. We developed a program which allows to take loans and invest them. But with old Soviet houses, with old Soviet windows, which allowed ventilation in the houses. But now with new hermetical houses, ventilation is not possible. unfortunately, there is no complex, comprehensive approach. And when it comes to the comprehensive approach, the money are already wasted for individual projects which are not intercoordinated. So today, so to say, we have one more speaker, Olena Synteselska, who is head of Condominia, which is head of Condominia, who won the competition announced by Kyiv State Administration. Will you describe this state program?
Thank you. I'm head of Condominia, and we were in the program 30 per 70, and I would like to thank city administration for this program, because due to this program we had an opportunity and people provided funds, and we reconstructed a boiler station, and Alexander said correctly that everything should be done in complex, and we reconstructed boiler station, and due to the city administration we also want to two walls of the house. So we had 500,000, and we spent 250,000 hryvnias, and we replaced everything in boiler station. First boilers, pumps, and we established regulator of temperature. And this is very important, because if there's no regulator, so then in that case we can't speak about economy, because only due to this regulator we have economy. And why this program? Why our people benefited from this program? Due to this program, we only had to we warmed two floors, two walls, and the people provided funds, about 4,500 each flat provided, in order to warm two walls. People understood that if there shouldn't be any gaps between floors. So that's why we completed this project successfully in November. We provided our project to city administration, and one more thing, in our house, due to thermal regulator, and you know that 1 meter is 60 hryvnias for heating, and we had in December 8 hryvnia 70 kopecks, and I cannot reduce more the temperature in the house, because not all the house is warmed. But those flats where walls are warmed, the temperature is 2 or 3 degrees Celsius warmer. And I hope that these programs will be present, and we will take part in these programs, because people, they see that some flats are warm due to this program. They addressed me that they want to participate, and they want to provide funds for this. That's why I hope that we can warm our home completely. And there was a conference, two-day conference with our Polish counterparts, and they said that only if the house completely warmed and if everything is modernized, and boilers should be modernized, so this will provide result, and everything else is not correct. That's why, so we should warm the house completely. And I would like to say that we hope for new programs, and people do not want to take credits. In Poland, they had 3% of annual rate. That's why people could get those credits. And here in Ukraine, our bank just dropped us. That's why I'm, as a head of Condominia, I would never take these debts. I don't want them. But we will take part in such programs. Thank you. Thank you. Maybe a comment now. You said that you won't take a credit because rates are too high. But we now work on this, and my presentation was aimed at development of compensation program. And the question to the city administration, when this program and compensation will be introduced. We took decision, and we will compensate some part of the body of the credit, not the rates. And I provided you with some examples from Lutsk. The idea is not about percentage. They do it for many years. People do not afraid of this. And there are two cities that adopted the decision, so Lviv earlier and Kyiv now, that there will be some compensation of the part of the body of the credit. And in Lviv, this program works, and only one association of condominiums, Tetyana Klimko, heads this association. They took 5 credits, and they benefited from it because due to the state program and also city program. And these were good conditions for them. Part of the body of the credit compensated by the city, and also some, and the rate is also compensated. So I will give you some time for your comments, but I would like to give the floor to the assistant of the people deputy, Ruslan Andrievskyi, and please take the floor. Good afternoon, everyone. First, I want to thank Tetyana Boiko and energy efficiency and all the others who take part in these projects, and also the Verkhovna Rada took decisions on the condominium management in order that people understood that people are responsible for these buildings, and people should bear this responsibility for their own housing. And Tetyana said that 50% believe that ZHECs and local authorities should be responsible for their housing, but not themselves. And also the main idea of draft law is the opportunity to provide options to people, how can they manage their housing. So there are broad mechanisms. These could be independent management, then management by company, direct contracts with monopolists, so they can have collective contracts, and this also provides some saving 5%. So, in the framework of this energy efficiency program, and the main idea is that people, only 30,000 people were informed on these programs. That's why now we gather people and try to explain to them what is going on. But the heads of these communal facilities, they can't provide information to people. So that's why they when people pay 500 hryvnias, so you take the credit and pay 600. That's why people don't want to take these credits. And subsidies. When we take 500, then a person pays 200, and if a person take credit, so they pay 600. So how can we convince people to take these credits? So there should be clear calculations why this is important and what is the economy for each flat. And there should be information provided to people on that. And main credits are provided to individual contractors. That's why people should get this information. And the issue about subsidies. So 90% of the payment, is it possible to create a mechanism by government that part of this money should go to energy efficiency measures? And for example, state compensate about 40% for warming. For state paid 90% for this. So this issue remains unsolved. This is not a competence of Verkhovna Rada. Some changes into legislation should be introduced, and we support this. But first, there should be clear network. Each person should know calculations. For example, warming of walls. It's very difficult to convince people in the effectiveness of this method. For example, only the temperature raised only for 2%, and there's no economy, so people pay the same amount of money. So we should balance. Some time should be taken by this. So, for example, you can't establish it in 1 year, but we have new houses where young people live that can establish water filters. But there are houses there pensioners live, and for them it is an unbearable burden. And we should speak with people. 50% of people, they don't know that they are responsible for their own houses. And we can conduct 150 seminars, but if we don't have calculations, for example, that you do this and you have this effect, and you in 1 year you pay less, and 3 years you pay even less. So we should provide examples, and we have castle in our cities, so rich people then they of course can have all this. We have. I now give the floor to our journalists, and then maybe some questions. We have time only for one question. If you have more questions, you can put them off records. That's why only one question. First, introduce yourself. Maybe one comment. 2 minutes.
Petro Олександровичу, коментар до вас. There is no state program. The law number 417 won't work. I won't mention how much how much money were allocated for condominium, how much were allocated for boilers. That's why, Petro Oleksiy, I have a suggestion on behalf of Kyivans. The Kyiv State Administration, jointly with Kyivans, have to develop their own approaches. No country in the world modernized its heating with 25% interest rates. People are not able to participate in those programs which you mentioned. 5,100 hryvnia for each house, as that lady mentioned. It's not possible for all Kyiv houses. Let us, Petro Oleksiy, have a round table jointly with activists, but not with just condominium members, but just ordinary houses, residents, then invite the Ministry of Residential and Regional Development, and thus all interested stakeholders. Thank you, dear colleagues. With this, we finish the press conference, and see you next time. Just in 1 minute, we start another press conference.